the Suns should have won this game. You're up double digits in the second half, and all of a sudden you just start handing the Milwaukee Bucks second chance turnovers. How much blame does Chris Paul get, Jake, for this loss?
Yeah, I think Chris Paul, gets a lot of blame, as any star player or leading player would. And I think that, particularly for Chris Paul, being that he is a point guard and being that he's been the guy that's known as not turning the ball over and, being this great playmaker and really dominating the mid-range, when you go from being that guy to turning the ball over and, essentially handing them the game, that you're obviously going to get a lot of heat for that. And I think that, the thing that we're not talking about is what the turnovers lead to outside of the points. So yes, they're going to lead to points, of course, but the real issue is that it's momentum swings. So you have this lead, you commit multiple turnovers, and now all of a sudden, not only have they cut into the lead or taken the lead, they've also got the momentum. So it makes it really difficult for you to come back in the game. It makes it really difficult for you to hold your water, as I like to say, like just to weather the storm and get back to, almost like a level playing field after the momentum swing happens. So I just think that, last night you have a situation where, Devin Booker's having a nice game. He's really, really putting the ball through and really carrying you offensively. And you have Chris Paul just trying to do too much, I felt like, trying to get nifty with the between the leg stuff and throwing these different passes across the paint, which typically are never going to be completed in the NBA. Like, I just don't know, like, where that came from or why Chris Paul all of a sudden started trying to make those kinds of passes. And the other thing I would say, too, is it's not like this Bucks team is an all-world team. They are talented. Giannis, Chris, Drew Holiday, they've got talent on that side. There's a reason they're here, but it's not like this is the best team the Suns have faced. I mean, I think you can make a pretty good case that the Clippers are better than the Bucks, and yet the Suns seemingly are just making these mistakes. And I don't know if it's postseason fatigue. I don't know if it's, something else. Who knows? But these mistakes have to stop in order for them to win the series.
All right, let's hear from Monty Williams talking about turnovers, and there were many, and it's pretty clear that Monty Williams, the head coach of the Phoenix Suns, knows what he's got to correct.
The turnovers just crushed us tonight. We shot 50% from the field, but they got 19 more possessions. And, over the course of the game, when you just give it up that many times, the turnovers and offensive rebounding was a bit of a hill for us to climb. But you're right, when you have that kind of a lead in the fourth, if we can just hold on to the ball and get good possessions, you feel like you can at least hold it there.
Phoenix Suns head coach Monty Williams, 34 more opportunities based on the number of turnovers and offensive rebounds for the Milwaukee Bucks last night. And I think one of the silver linings in this loss, if there is one, is that you only lost by 6, and you gave them 34 more opportunities to score the basketball than you had, Jake. I would imagine the Phoenix Suns, I think the Phoenix Suns are still going to win the championship, but these kind of numbers, I don't know. Is that about the effort of the Milwaukee Bucks or the shortfalls of the Phoenix Suns?
Well, to me, I mean, I think you have to expect the Bucks to always be giving max effort on defense. I mean, that's sort of like the theme of their team. They're a hardworking team. That's just their mentality as a team to play great defense. So, if you're the Suns, you have to expect that. I mean, you have to understand that they're always going to be coming after you. And so, to me, I tend more to lean towards the side of this is the Suns, not playing to, their true potential, right? Like, there's a difference between playing your absolute best game, like that game where, you only turn it over 4, maybe 5 times the whole game. You're making the good pass, the ball movement's there, you're getting high percentage looks, like you're operating on offense. You've got you as the 5 guys on the floor together as a unit, understand what they're trying to do, and they're executing at a high level. It seems like right now at times for the Suns, that's not the case. It seems like multiple times last night, and this isn't really even a criticism, it's just more of an observation. Multiple times last night, all they were doing on offense was just running sets for Book and, letting him take those shots, and he was making them last night. But I think the best Suns basketball product that we've seen this year is not just, hey, give it to Chris or give it to Book and sort of let them, play their individual games. I mean, I think the best Suns product we've seen is, hey, let's get it to these two guys, but then let's also look for the corner three. Let's also look for this or for that inside of the offense, and we're just not seeing a lot of that right now.
Yeah, and it's tough to explain away Chris Paul's failings at this point because this isn't just one game where Chris Paul has struggled to to control the basketball. This has been going on for a pretty good part of this series. So you have to give the Bucks some credit for that. But the thing that is shocking is the last possession of the game, the most important possession of the game, where the Suns need a three, Chris Paul dribbles up the floor and falls down.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns into a fast break where Chris Middleton gets a layup. And I just don't understand what Chris Paul's mentality was there. You have a guy in Devin Booker that's got 42 points. He has been unstoppable last night, the entire game, and you fall down and turn the ball over. You never even looked at him. He was open. And this goes back to probably your point in what you've been talking about this series, is that Chris Paul has not been a team guy.
Yeah.
Chris Paul at times has been a ball hog, and I think we have seen that the last two games in Milwaukee. He just does not move the ball enough.
Yeah, and I think that it really hurts their flow. Like we kind of were able to write that off because Devin Booker wasn't having, like in game 1 and game 2, he gave you 25 to 30, but that's pretty standard procedure for him. He wasn't having that big night where, as we've heard multiple times, 50 was a possibility. Like you were just saying, he was at 42 points. So last possession of the game, and what I found so silly about this is where on the floor this happened. So Chris Paul brings the ball up, and you're dribbling into the meat of their defense. I mean, you're in an area of the floor where you're surrounded by Bucks defenders. It's not like this happened, at three-quarter court, right? Like, it's not like he just happened to slip and it was just unfortunate. You dribbled into the middle of their defense while your boy over here is wide open. Like, it just was a silly play.
He fell down at the free throw line.
I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know. I mean, obviously he didn't intentionally fall over, but the whole thought here is that, you brought the ball up, and you clearly weren't thinking, okay, I got to get this ball to the best scoring option we have right now. Because last night, the other thing, too, it's not like Chris Paul was lighting it up. It's not like he was having a big scoring night. So it's hard to justify the turnovers when you don't have the production.
Well, let's hear from one more bite from Monty Williams. After the game in the locker room, I thought this was really classic Monty Williams, and this tells you why. I think this is the exact right guy at the exact right time. By the way, I also think this tells you why the Suns are not by far done in this series.
All of this is correct. We're in this situation right now because we put ourselves in this situation. I mean, in a good way. We got 3 games to win 2. That's how you got to look at it. You can't have your heads down right now. You got to stay together. That's the deal. What happened tonight is correctable. 17 offensive rebounds they got, 17 turnovers we had. Think about that, guys. We had a 21-point fourth quarter. We're making it hard on ourselves, okay? But we can't have our heads down. It's emotionally tough. But we got to know we put ourselves in this position. We got home court advantage. You got to keep your spirit high. That's the deal. Ever since I've been here, we talked about everything you want is on the other side of hard. This is hard. This is freaking hard. So you got to stick together. That's the deal, all right?
Such a good message. Phoenix Suns head coach Monty Williams right there in the locker room after the game. And I think that's the truth. Nothing that you're going to accomplish in the NBA in the finals is going to be easy. And frankly, I think as we start moving towards Game 5 on Saturday night, I would simply say nothing's really gone out of plan here.
Yeah.
The home teams won every game. The Suns should have won Game 4. I mean, there's no other way to look at this. You turn the ball over. Devin Booker's, basketball IQ was at a rock bottom last night. I mean, I know Devin Booker had a big game, and I know that a lot of people, we joke on this show about that's my dude, and absolutely. Devin Booker's basketball IQ last night was not very high. The way he committed those 5 fouls, the stupidity behind the 6th and 7th fouls that were not called, I mean, you just have to get more intelligent basketball out of this team. It's what's separating these two teams right now. Is that the Milwaukee Bucks are not committing stupid turnovers. They're not committing stupid fouls. And they're being far more aggressive than the Phoenix Suns are. That's why the Milwaukee Bucks won Game 4 in Game 5. Because they were, Game 3 and Game 4. Because they were far more aggressive. They're at the line. Defensively, I think you saw this with DeAndre Ayton in Game 3. DeAndre Ayton was just hacking away. Last night he was not, and he limited Giannis Antetokounmpo's touches. And that was a big part of the reason the Suns were in the game. You got typical performances out of guys that you would expect to. I mean, I look at Devin Booker's numbers last night on paper, and everybody's going to say, man, 17 of 28, no three-pointers. He goes 8 of 9 from the line, scores 42 points. What a performance. Well, yeah, he also had 9 fouls last night. He also committed a couple of stupid ticky-tack fouls in the first half that all add up at the end of the game. I think he was passive. I think he was not attacking. He was not attacking Tucker early in the game, so Tucker was able to stay in the game late. Like, it was just the basketball intelligence that we've already talked about with Chris Paul. We're talking about with Devin Booker. Look at the Giannis block last night.
Yeah.
With all due respect, that's a great play.
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton needs to lift some weights. Like, the thing you'll notice about that block, it is great reaction by Giannis. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
The ball just falls out of DeAndre's hands. And what did we see last night? Exactly what we told you we'd see out of DeAndre Ayton. Drop 2 big passes and then wants to play volleyball and tip the ball up in the air all the time. He is not a guy that you can rely on in traffic to catch the ball on a rebound or a pass.
And on that play, too, what I thought was so interesting is that I felt like, throughout the game, and this is something that I think Book has to work on, there are so many times when if Book would just go to the basket on guys, he would get fouls. Like, if he would just go up, like on that alley-oop attempt, that this great defensive play by Giannis. Like, I'm sitting there looking at that play saying, okay, Book is at the elbow and he's got a decision to make. He understands PJ's with him, but he also understands Giannis is in front of him. So, yeah, your odds of making like an and one there are not very high. But when you're on the road and you're in a really tight game, a highly contested game, going to the foul line is one of the best tools you have. It slows the game down. It allows your team to compose themselves, and it's racking up fouls on the other team. So I felt like there was even an opportunity for Book to try to go up and get fouled. So, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying about DeAndre. DeAndre should have absolutely posterized Giannis on that play, and everyone's going to say, well, Giannis got back, and Giannis got a full hand on the ball. And what I'm saying is, look at it was a small play, but the Suns were inbounding it. Giannis was on Ayton. They tried to inbound it to Ayton, and Giannis steals the ball. Why did that happen?
Because Ayton didn't close, and
Ayton didn't
soft.
close, and he is soft. Exactly. So I look at that play, and I say, okay, on the alley-oop, you should have hammered that thing home. It should not have been a clean block. Giannis should have paid the price for trying to make that block, but he didn't because Ayton still is not that tough, gritty big yet. And I think he's progressing, but he has to bring more.
And by the way, the pass wasn't ideal either. DeAndre Ayton was fully extended on that play. But it just goes to show you, like I look at Ayton's line last night, 17 rebounds, 16 of those defensive, 5 dimes, 3 blocks, 2 turnovers, 2 fouls, 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have 6 points out of your second best offensive weapon.
And maybe that's the other bright spot, too. I mean, they lose this game in the end by giving it away. But Chris Paul had whatever he had. He had like 10 points or whatever it was.
10 points, 5 turnovers, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds.
So you're telling me that Chris Paul had 10 points, DeAndre Ayton had 6 points or whatever it was, and you only won the game by like 5 or 3?
6 points.
6 points. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. I mean, that was not even close to the Suns' best ability last night, and you've only won the game by 6 points.
Well, and I think it also has to be said that if you look at the role players for the Milwaukee Bucks, who did not do much in Phoenix. I mean, Pat Connaughton shooting air balls in Phoenix. Not last night, 11 points on 3 of 7 from 3. Big three-pointers last night.
Yeah.
Are you going to get that on the road? I think you look at a guy like Brook Lopez. Really didn't do much in Phoenix. 14 points last night. Big production from him. You look at the Suns role players were really non-existent last night. Monty only played 8 guys, which you understand. Campaign had 9 points, but missed 3 easy layups, which you just don't understand that.
That right there is a difference in the game.
Torrey Craig only has 4 points last night, 15 minutes, only takes 1 shot and 2 free throws. I look at a guy like Mikal Bridges, 7 points in 26 minutes. I mean, your role players will determine wins and losses most nights. Certainly last night that was the case. I think it also is a conversation about officiating in this game. And this was a big discussion last night on Twitter. This is the worst of the worst when it comes to officiating. It is shocking, the non-calls and the calls. There were critical possessions, like the Booker play where the ball clearly went off of P.J. Tucker's foot. They didn't review it. The ball clearly goes off of Giannis's hands on a critical putback opportunity. They didn't review it. The Booker play where and I know you disagree with me on this, but that foul that they didn't call on Booker at the rim against Holiday, I don't think there was any doubt that was a foul. They didn't call it. He stays in the game. I just look at all of these. Just an incredibly inconsistent game by the officials. They, without question, changed the outcome of this game. I mean, those 3 possessions that they took from the Suns all turned into points for the Bucks. The Devin Booker staying in the game, he hits, 2 mid-range jumpers after that to keep the Suns in it. If they foul him out, this game's never in doubt. I mean, it just is amazing to me that here we are in Game 4 of the NBA Finals, and we're getting an awful performance out of the officials.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're NBA teams, you can't leave it in the hands of the officials. You have to. It really puts the onus on the players to execute, and that's why I say, I don't disagree that the officiating's been incredibly inconsistent. I completely agree on that. I mean, we can disagree about this call or that call, but at the end of the day, you're 100% right that the officiating has not been what I think every NBA fan and really every NBA player would want it to be. But I think the fact is, and I'm going to say this because we said it about the Jazz, and I think it's a fair point still. I mean, the Suns don't have to worry about officiating if they don't turn it over 17 times. You don't have to worry about officiating if you make if you make free throws throughout the game. You don't have to worry about officiating if campaign would make basic layups. So that's why I say, yes, I agree. Officiating should and could be a lot better, no doubt. But at the same time, that's still not an excuse for the result that was had in this game, because I genuinely believe the Suns gave this one away. I with all due respect to the Bucks, the Suns had this game in control. They didn't really feel like they were out of it till the very end, and you just feel like if they don't turn the ball over as much, and maybe if Chris Paul doesn't fall over inexplicably and turn it over at the end of the game, maybe we're having a different conversation. So I just think that either way, if you're the Phoenix Suns, if there is such a thing as feeling good about a loss or taking wins out of a loss, you can feel good about the fact that Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton didn't really do anything and you only lost by 6. I mean, that's a pretty strong thing.
Yeah, but I think it is also important to note that I don't think there's any doubt the officials called this game to elongate the series. And I've never bought into the Tim Donaghy conspiracy theories. And I like Tim. He's been on the show 1,000 times. I never agreed with him wholeheartedly until last night. I've always had doubts, but I look at the refusal to review that play off of, P.J. Tucker, off of Giannis's hand. The not calling fouls on Giannis in the paint when he is yanking the back of a guy's jersey to get a rebound. In the official, you can see the official in the replay looking right at it, and he doesn't blow the whistle. I mean, he had all of Torrey Craig's jersey. All of it. They're only calling a foul on Giannis because on, I think it was like 2 or 3 possessions later, he's yanking DeAndre Ayton to the floor. Like, I mean, I don't know what more evidence I would need to believe that the NBA officials are being leveraged by the league to lengthen this series. Again, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. I just am not. Like, I don't believe in Area 51. I don't believe in the grassy knoll. Well, I do believe that there are Russian hookers with Donald Trump, but that's a different story. But I have not believed until now that the NBA was leveraging the officials to lengthen series. I think it's pretty clear. Let's get some of your comments in here. Of course, James Knight disagrees with me. He says, Stop, Monty. You can't comment on the officials after your take on Utah bitching and moaning about officials. Well, you don't... How do I say this with tact?
You make it easy, James.
You really do.
You make it very easy, my
Did the
friend.
Suns sit up on the podium last night and say that the officials were out to get their team and that the officials want them to lose games?
And that they don't want them to win because they're a small market team?
Did the Suns players do that? Does Devin Booker, every time there's a foul call, turn around and complain to the officials like Rudy Gobert on every single call? By the way, did Devin Booker or Jay Crowder or Chris Paul get a technical foul when a foul was called in his favor? Did that happen? I don't think that happened last night. I know that happened to Rudy Gobert, who bitched at the officials even after they gave him a call to the point where he got a technical foul. Like, you're anyway, why do I even indulge that? Driftwood says, of course, Jake is a Marvel fan. Makes complete sense. I can totally see him going night-night in his Spidey PJs, eating his peanut butter burrito, comfy in his Iron Man bed sheets.
Okay. I'm not sure what that has to do anything with what we're talking about.
Jordan Crabtree says Booker is not clutch. Ace says, if you don't believe officials are changing games and you just figured it out now, what league are you watching? Yeah, you're right. I should have gotten on board with this long ago after what I saw last night. Red Heart Norvis says, Monty at halftime said they are outworking us. Yeah. I mean, they did. The Bucks outworked the Suns.
And that's why I say, like, you know, Jazz fans are going to be all pissed off about this conversation, and I guess I get it, but at the end of the day, you know, this is the NBA Finals. You're not playing, you know, some random ass team in the regular season. Like, at the end of the day, I guess I just feel like, you know, the league. I guess they don't have an obligation. They have an obligation to make money. I mean, that's what the league. That's what the league's about. So, like I said, I understand it, but I'm still going to say the same thing about the Suns that I said about the Jazz. The officiating has nothing to do with why they lost the game. I still maintain that. You know, I still believe that
nothing to do with
it has nothing to do with it, because we wouldn't be talking about it if you didn't turn the ball over 17 times.
The officials are not why the Suns lost. I would agree with that. They played a huge role in why the Suns were losing this game. If the call off of PJ Tucker's foot is properly officiated, if Devin Booker is fouled out of the game, if they make those calls on Giannis, he is in foul trouble in the second quarter. He should have had 5 fouls in the first half. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's that one play where he straight up knocked over DeAndre Ayton, no call. I mean, just forearms him to the ground, no call. Yep. The play where he drops his shoulder into Chris Paul, no foul.
Yeah.
I mean, to say they had no role in the Suns losing the game, I don't agree with that. Are the officials why the Suns lost this game? No, they're not. The turnovers and the work ethic of the Suns, the basketball IQ of Devin Booker, that's why the Phoenix Suns lost this game. It's not because of the officials. But if those calls were properly officiated, the Suns win this game by probably 8 to 10 points. Mm-hmm. I have no doubt about that. The Suns, and I can sit up here confidently and say the Suns are a better basketball team than the Milwaukee Bucks. Mm-hmm. It just depends on how you call the game.